Okay, we're here in all the action at Urban Jungle Philly. So it got a little cold, so you kind of push your plants to the side, but all of a sudden you got a plant delivery, right? So
that's right, yes. So it's warming up, and we shortly will be able to have this place filled, and it will look like an amazing urban jungle.
Now, is this one of 2 locations?
So we are opening a new location at our yard, and that's for outdoor plants.
Interesting.
Specifically outdoor stuff. Perennials, annuals, and larger shrubs and trees will be down there.
So you started in the houseplant kind of home decor market?
Actually, no.
Oh.
We started as doing window boxes and container gardening and things like that. And then as the business evolved, and the plant craze started happening, we got more into the houseplants and stuff.
Got it.
So now that is the major part of our business now, is houseplants.
So you had this location for how long now?
So we are in our 13th year.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you. This was an abandoned garage, so it was basically a big, horrible, nasty cave that my husband and I
mean, was it a car, is that car wash sign up there? Like,
yes. So that was all washed out.
Yeah.
And I knew it said something.
Yeah.
And I said, you got to get up there and see what it says.
Yeah.
And so somebody went up in our
Genie.
Genie.
It, or was it just washed?
No, we repainted it.
That's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Amazing. So you're now focusing on houseplants here. And you started with window boxes.
Yes.
And tell me, when did the houseplant craze really start to pick up here in Philadelphia? And then you're just like, hey, we have to get into that.
So I would say I started here only 5 years ago.
Okay.
I had a clothing and jewelry store prior to this, so I really know like the retail end more so than the plant end. And a lovely person came on board with me and helped me transform this into like what it is today. And everybody that's here now, of course, everybody helps me all the time.
Yeah.
And we had a plant person come that was on Instagram, and so he really pushed that house plant business.
Yeah.
And so I would say that was probably about 4 or 5 years ago.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And so then once that started picking up, and then when COVID hit and everybody wanted plants for their houses and things like that, we were able to get them to them.
That's great. And then I mean, obviously you do a lot of home decor here. It's a big space.
Yeah.
So you could like really, fill
it's
it
amazing
out.
that we have no room.
Yeah. But that's what people always say when they have plants also in their house. They have, I'm no room.
Right.
But I could always
more.
I could always find room for one more. Yeah, exactly.
True.
So what have been some of your things that have really resonated with people?
So I remember initially it was that the Paella pepperoni.
Yeah, pepperoni. Yeah.
That was super popular and hard to get.
Yeah.
And then they became more popular.
Yeah.
And then right now it's like the Pink Princess.
Yes.
And the Monsteras. Everybody always loves all the Adansonii. Even kids love the jungle. Everybody loves the jungle.
You got to get them young. You got to get them young looking plants.
That's right.
And of course, I think probably Hoyas and Aroids and everything like that, I'm sure people are really hot for, I guess, these days. Yeah.
Yeah, anything that does well in the city, in small spaces, lower light.
Yeah.
For me here, we do some in the, we do as many rare plants that we can find.
Yeah.
I have one grower that brings us, like, he'll have them in the truck and then we'll pick what we want. But also for me, it's a lot of beginner plant people, so I like to accommodate them.
It's actually quite warm today. We walked in here and it's a little chilly because this was like an old garage, but we had some really terrible cold spells and magnolia trees and everything, and had some problems, and they don't have heating in here, so they actually had to move their plants away, but they have some right here. And I was actually just looking at this one. I was thinking maybe I should get my brother a plant, because my brother has a lot of plants actually too. Like my brother and my father started getting involved in plants. My brother lives in Philadelphia, so I was like, ooh, this one looks really nice. It's kind of it's a cactus, but it looks kind of like a Schomburgera or Ripsalidopsis. I'm not even sure which one it is, or if it's a different species altogether. But I was eyeing that one as a potential plant for my brother's home. But they have a nice little succulent display here, and I love it. There's like a rustic industrial feel like in this because it's obviously was like a car and tire shop or whatever, and a lot of home decor. And Tara's like, I don't even have all the plants that were out here because it was cold and we had a cold front. But it's nice. It's enough to see like kind of what's in stock and what's in store here. So you have some crassulas, and you have this one that's actually in bloom. Look at that. So beautiful, an echeveria, I would imagine, but yellow flowers. And then here you have these Senecio staphyliformis. And it looks like this looks like a kalanchoe to me with the flowers. It's really pretty. And then this, a little Euphorbia millii with the little colorful bracts. And big chunky jades here. Crassulas ovadas, and then this is a Ripsalis. Wouldn't actually be a bad pick for my brother's place either as well. I think these are Burchellii, Burchellii. So some of the plants that they just brought in. You can see some Hoya macrophyllus, variegatas. These I found, as far as Hoyas go, are fairly prolific bloomers, and I'd love to hear if other people have actually grown these, if you've had blooms the same way that I have with this plant. I've been very successful at blooming this Hoya, and at very young specimen sizes. Then here you have the Thaumatophyllum sprucianum / Philodendron goldii. And again, when I got these plants, they seemed to be not as hardened off as they are now because they were very difficult to get. Now, I don't know if these have been in tissue culture or if they've been successful in tissue culture, but these plants seem to be much easier to take care of now that they're more in commercial production. And I'm seeing them a lot more in commercial production, and the prices have come down quite a lot, which is pretty good. These are nice and chunky. These are the string of fish hooks, or sometimes people call them string of bananas. This is, it used to be called Senecio radicans. You could even see Senecio radicans here, but it's actually a curio now. So this has been a new genus of curio radicans, and that's a whole new genus of Senecionidae, and that is beautiful hanging basket plant. If you're not giving it top-down light, it often gets a little brown and crusty on the top. Another great example of something that has been moved over into curio. So this used to be known as Senecio rauulanus. It's now Curio rauulanus. And if you get these flowers like this, okay, the flowers don't look like much, but they smell incredible. So they smell like cloves. This one doesn't smell as much, but typically if you get down in there, and it's at the right time of the day, it'll smell like cloves. So if you're into that kind of thing, it's a little bit like Christmas. So for how crazy a plant, this is, obviously people get it for their leaves, but the flowers, again, like I said, not very much. It looks like a little pom-pom, but it smells delicious. Then this Alocasia Hilo Beauty, one of these other ones. I kind of find these to be a fairly challenging unless you're giving it pretty high humidity. You see the thinness of this leaf? It does make it a little harder to manage, in my opinion, but maybe not as challenging as, like, let's just say here, like an Alocasia reginula. You can compare the thickness in the leaf here. I always just find with the Alocasias with a slightly thicker leaf, much easier to do some caring for. One of the things that Tara had mentioned that people go crazy for, like a philodendron pink princess, one of those ones that had been really easy to get as a houseplant, wasn't ever really expensive, but then people just, a lot of people got into the trade. They absolutely loved this plant, and then you probably had more demand than you had for supply, so a lot of the times the prices would go through the roof. Peperomia ruby cascade. I found this to be actually a challenging plant where I had it in my home, and I unfortunately have lost this plant in my home. and I never changed it up in a place where maybe it could have done better. But I am wondering whether this actually could be a really good terrarium plant. And if I took a little cutting and actually put it into my little paludarium, if I could have maybe saved a little cutting on this, because I had this in I think a more slightly drier condition that really didn't work for this particular plant. But whenever you get it and you see it in the markets, it always looks so fresh and full, and looks like it could be a really great hanging basket plant over time. Let's take a look at some of the decor, because I'm a basket person, love these. So these are things that I think you could do, like smart and sensible, like if you have a plastic container plant, like something that's a little bit larger, you just want to put it into a basket, even something that you could see through here. You could even put fabric around it so you could actually see the fabric. And then you just have the plastic pot in here. You could put a little place on the bottom in order to collect the water, because obviously you don't want the water to fall into the basket. But I think these are like affordable ways to make, like, if you don't want to change out your plastic container and you put it into a big terracotta or something that looks nice, fiberglass pot or anything along those lines, baskets could look really good, especially if you don't have one of those more modern apartments where, you know, people get those like white or black or gray planter pots. It doesn't look good. If you have a more rustic home, like kind of like how I do, then a basket could actually be a good way to kind of look nice around a plant. I like this display too, where you have this incredible display of all this macrame, and you could just see which one looks right for your house. It's kind of like 1970s all over again, where macrame has like come back into vogue. So it's very nice. Even something like this, where you could have like a little air plant that kind of sits in there, or a pot that kind of sticks out this way and has maybe a little hanging plant that comes down that could look really pretty. And then they have a little bit of behind the scenes back here. So they store their plants back here and it's a little warmer. So they're going to be moving some of their plants up. And then you can see, this one's pretty sizable. This is a Philodendron hastatum. So a silver sword, sometimes folks call it. And as you could tell, it's got that sword-like foliage. They have it growing up right now. Ficus elastica, but these are the more variegated versions. So and some Dracaenas. So they're gonna be bringing these out. So we kind of like popped in on them right as they were opening up and it got too cold. A pubicalyx, Hoya pubicalyx. Those are quite nice. One of our favorites, Zamioculcas zamiofolia, raven. And you can see all the new growth coming in, that kind of chartreusey kind of green. And then it just starts to harden off into black. And then this looks like a type of Spathiphyllum domino, where it has just simple flecking. Very pretty. Yeah, this is Spath domino. Sometimes I can't keep up with the cultivar names. And then this one actually has this like rippled top. So my dominoes don't feel that rippled, but maybe this is a different kind of form that came out of the tissue culture labs. Cool. And well, let's check upstairs and then we'll wrap this up. Okay. I'm gonna do a lot with the space. Okay, so here, these are Ceropegias. This one is still a woody eye, but they have slightly different shapes to their leaves. Look, this one, they're both actually flowering. I had mine, clearly mine was actually fooling around with another one because it's been pollinated and I found a seed pod. So these seed pods look very similar to milkweeds, if you're familiar. It's actually in the same family of Apocynaceae. So it's like this really thin green bean and it gets these white fluffy seed heads that kind of blow away in the breeze. So we'll see. I actually took some of those and I planted them up in little pots. So we'll see if actually they end up becoming like plants down the line, if they end up propagating and germinating. So you can see, these are really beautiful. A real bitch to untangle though if they get actually tangled up, so challenging plants. All right, well I think that's it. We get to see a little more of urban jungle behind the scenes. dropped in on Tara when she least expected it. we walked in you when you're having your yogurt and granola. Stay tuned on Plant One On Me for more botanical tours, talks, and how-tos. And if you're looking to further your knowledge on the plant kingdom, then have a look at our various online courses from Troubleshoot Your Houseplants to the Houseplant Masterclass. Additionally, we have a second channel we started last year called Flock Finger Lakes, where we cover more on outdoor gardening, habitat restoration, and even more. So check that out if that interests you. Otherwise, we'll see you in the next episode.